Hey everyone, welcome to this live Q&A. I am so excited about this. I've been able to do live Q&As on different platforms like Instagram and stuff, but I haven't done it here on YouTube. So the fact we can do a live show right now and answer your questions is so fun. So if you have any questions, start just typing those away and we'll get those in and hopefully answer them while you're watching. But yesterday was the launch of my newest book, Know Yourself, Know Your Money. And man, it was a feat. I mean, I'm so thankful that launch day has happened and that it is out. And, we joked in one of the videos recently when I was driving a minivan that I can't go on book tour because of COVID-19. And I remember I think it was March of 2020, right when everything started going crazy, like end of March, early April, being in meetings and stuff for work, we had like this war room, just trying to figure out, okay, if income for the company slips down to here's what we're going to do. I mean, it was just plan after plan after plan because no one knew what was happening. Well, during all of that, I was emailing about book tour with our VP of publishing. And so we were trying to get calendars set because in my head, I thought, by January, everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be normal in January of 2021. Nope. Here we are, and I can't travel and see you guys and meet you in bookstores all across America and all of that. So we are kind of shifting and pivoting. Yeah, we want to throw that word pivot out the window, but that's what we're doing. So it's just fun to at least connect with you all via a camera and a computer and talk about the book, Know Yourself, Know Your Money. This was a really fun one to write because it was kind of different than a lot of our money messages we talk about. Ramsey Solutions is famous for the baby steps and a proven plan to get you out of debt and building wealth to a point that you're controlling your money. Your money's not controlling you. And that is our goal and our hope and what we love so much. But this book kind of just takes a different take, if you will. It goes deeper, and it's not just the how-to of money. It's not just how to get out of debt and how to budget and how to save and how to invest, how to give. It's why. Why do we handle money the way we do? So if you've gotten in a place where you're like, I struggle with budgeting, I don't want to just keep telling you, do a zero-based budget, do a zero-based budget. I want to get under the root of that and be like, okay, so why is it hard for you to budget? There's probably a lot of answers down there that may not even have to do with money. If you and your spouse can't get on the same page, I try to give you videos and tips and tricks to how to communicate and how to have great conversations. But at the end of the day, there's a marriage breakdown at some point. So let's get to that. Let's get to the root of our problems and understand the why. And once we can do that, all these doors open up where we can change habits, we can change the way we're viewing things, and we can magnify the good. And that's what, again, Know Yourself, Know Your Money is all about, understanding yourself. So everything from your childhood and your money classroom growing up. Was money talked about? Was it not? Was it money stressful or was it calm? What was it like for you? And tendencies, we all have money tendencies. That might be one of my favorite parts of the book because I love that your money tendency, it's not right or wrong. It is just your money personality, how you're naturally wired. Now, those tendencies can have extremes, which can be unhealthy. I don't want to go to the extreme. But just, are you naturally a saver or spender? Do you naturally enjoy quality things or the quantity of things? Do you naturally like spending money on experiences or things? These are not right or wrong. And so I kind of liked that part of it too because there's zero shame in it. It is just who you are and being able to pinpoint it and understanding yourself and your money habits because of those tendencies as well as people in your life. Because you can start thinking, oh, that's why my spouse may see money like this, or that's why my parents, are like X, Y, and Z because they're scarcity and not abundance, or whatever it is. You can start pinpointing and realizing how people function with money. So that was really fun. The dreaming section I loved because I was able to tie in saving and dreaming, which I hadn't really done before. But when I was going through writing it, I really wanted to discuss why we give what we give, why we spend what we spend, and why we save what we save. Because give, save, spend are the three basic money principles that you can teach a 5-year-old or a 55-year-old. And as I was doing the why do you save what you save, it's all because of your dreams and your values and your goals and what you want your life to look like. Because money is a tool to create a life that you love. We say that a lot on the Rachel Cruze show, but that's what it is. And so being able to say, okay, if you're not dreaming, then you're probably not saving. It's really hard to save when you have nothing to motivate you to save for. And so connecting things like that was really fun. The spending section, why you spend what you spend, was probably the most convicting for me to even write, because I remember typing it out on my computer and I was like, this is for me. This is for me. Because I'm a natural spender, but it can be unhealthy. Like if you spend money to cope, to feel good, which a lot of people did during the pandemic, right? If you're stressed or you're bored or whatever it is, spending on Amazon just kind of feels good. And you're like, oh, just kind of a quick dopamine hit. And you're like, oh yeah, that feels good. So really understanding that. And then any of my Enneagram lovers out there, I'm an Enneagram 3. I kind of hate that I am, but I am. And so the question for me is, if no one was to see this purchase, do I still want it? And filtering my purchases through that, because I know that's my tendency. I know that's my personality. But putting those safeguards in place with spending was fun to write out. And again, pretty convicting for me, even the author. And the giving part, of course, I love giving. Giving is honestly the most fun you can have with money. And we say that a lot, but it is so true. There is a joy you get with money when you give it, unlike anything you can buy. And the more you realize the things in life that you can't buy are honestly the most valuable, whether it's your health, your family, your spouse, your kids, your friends, relationships. I mean, the things that you just can't buy, that stuff is so valuable. And giving plays into that because it affects our hearts and our emotions. And unpacking that was a really fun part, a way to close the book. And talking about grace too, and behavior change and all that. So I hope you guys who have gotten it in the mail, which I know a bunch of you have, I hope you have just dove right in and you love it and it's helping you already. That is my hope and my prayer. So just a couple of things. If you have read it, I'm going to put a little plug in here. If you will go on Amazon and write a review, it's really helpful, because one of the things with this book that I'm like, I want people to pick up this book who have never heard of Ramsey Solutions or never think they can win with money. And they happen to stumble across this book and they buy it and it affects their entire life. Like they are able to change their money habits and the way they view money because of this book. And places like Amazon and websites like that, they promote books that have ratings and the way they're selling and all of that. So if you love the book and want to write a review, that would help get it in front of people that may have never heard of us and maybe never have taken control of their money. So that's one of my prayers for this book too, that it gets in the hands of people to really, really affect change. So, all right, let's dive in to some questions, because this is the fun part and this is why we're here, people. All right, let's see. We got Sydney. She says, how do you think you'd handle money differently if you weren't a Ramsey? I mean, if I had like zero of these principles, not because I'm a Ramsey, but just in life, I probably would be a big spender. I mean, I am a big spender, but I would probably, spend a whole lot more than I do now. And I'm not great naturally at details, so I probably wouldn't be great at budgeting. I'd probably just go with the flow. And sadly, that would really catch up with me. So the fact that I know these principles, not just because I'm a Ramsey, but because I learned them so early on and it's part of who I am and all I know what to do with money, is a huge gift, because I would probably be the worst out of all of us, honestly. Jerry said, my wife and I are about to pay off our car and become debt-free. Amazing. My question is, how much do you think we should save up to move to Norway and also buy a house that my wife wants? Oh man, Jerry, I don't know if I can answer that. I don't know a specific amount that you need to save up for. That means you probably need to do some research. You probably need to figure out what part of Norway you want to live in. How much do homes cost in that area? Is it a big city or is it more out in the country? Cost of living. You probably need to ask around, look around. You need to do research to figure out, because I couldn't tell you. I have no clue. No clue specific amounts, but I would do research for sure and figure that out. Jacob, how do you budget as a full-time college student who lives with their parents? You budget like anyone else. I mean, it's your income coming in. If you have a job, Jacob, and you have a job, whatever income's coming in, minus all of your expenses equals zero. So if you're in charge of, if you have to pay rent, I don't know if you do, if you're living with your parents, you may not have to, so you don't need housing. Are you paying for food while you're staying there? Maybe, maybe not. You may not need that unless you're going to be going out to eat, I'm assuming. So have a line item for that. So any expenses that you have, you need to list out. So again, it may look different because you may not have certain bills that other people who are renting an apartment or own a home have, but figure out what you have to spend on and write those out. And that income minus expenses equals 0. Great question, though. Carol said, there are so many financial institutions offering online courses and workshops. How do you figure out which one would be valuable? I would say places that have a long track record, like Ramsey Solutions. I obviously am going to push you towards Ramsey Plus and getting in our materials because obviously I believe in them so deeply. But the idea of knowing what's going to take control of your money, what's going to get you in a place where you are not stressed, you're not in debt, you are actually building wealth over the long haul. And I believe the baby steps do that. And within Ramsey Plus is Financial Peace University that you can watch and take the classes there online. But yeah, I would look at, if you choose not to do that route, look at places that, again, have the outcome that you want. Like there's some, old school like infomercials for real estate and like buy 18, short sales and you become a millionaire a week later. Like there's all these like crazy stuff that you see and you're like, that's probably not true. So what's the outcome that you want? And are there people that have done that it actually works? So I would do that, research and figure it out. But honestly, Ramsey Solutions, we're the best of the best. I'm a little biased, I know, but just saying the truth. What did you learn about your family while writing the book? Whatever. That's a great question. I'm thinking you're meaning like my parents, because I guess Winston, I had some aha moments with Winston. I remember the experiences versus things when I was writing that about the money tendencies. I was kind of coming up with all these different ones, and I remember I said that one, and he was like, yes. He said, Rachel, that is us. I am things all the way, and you are experiences. And we had never said that out loud before. And I thought, you're right. That is so true. And I could go back to even when we were first married, and we'd go out to eat. I think I've told the story before, but it's such a picture of it. And he would always drink water. He would always order water. And I was like, get a glass of wine or get a Coke. Like, I don't care, but just get a drink. Like, enjoy it with me. And he's like, I'm good. I'm fine with water. It did not bother him at all. It's kind of what he wanted. But to me, I wanted the whole experience of this dinner and everything. And looking back now, I was like, man, if I had the verbiage to say, yeah, because you would rather buy a pair of shoes and I would rather go to a nice dinner. Neither one's right or wrong. It just is what it is. And I could understand that then and not be just, frustrated of like, oh, enjoy this with me, where he's trying to assure me that he is. So it was those things, I think, between Winston and I that we talked about a lot as I was writing the book. So that was fun. And then my parents, I grew up in the classrooms. We talk about the 4 money classrooms. The first one is the anxious money classroom. Classroom number 2 is the unstable money classroom. Classroom number 3 is the unaware money classroom. And 4 is the stable or the secure classroom. And so as I was writing, I was talking about, I grew up, I think, in classroom 4 is what I would say, where it was verbally open, money was talked about, but it was emotionally calm. So there was a plan around money. It wasn't stressful. And so I was saying this to my parents as I was writing it, and they both looked at each other and started laughing. I thought, what? And they're like, well, yeah, you were born the year we filed bankruptcy. So when your memories start, we probably were in classroom number 4. But for many years when you were little, we were classroom number 2. But I didn't even think about that. I thought, oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But I don't have those memories, really. So I'd say that. And I would say talking about money is more than just the tactical side of it. And the Ramseys are way more what I call AM. So I had a small group leader say this to me years ago. They said families either function more AM, where it's head, like you think about AM on the radio. It's facts, it's logic. Or FM is emotions. So, do you function more in the emotional aspect of life? And the Ramseys are AM, like all the way. Not that they don't really do emotion, but man, it is debates on theology to random subjects that we don't know anything about, but we get in these debates and Google the answer and all of it. Like it is, we're factual. We talk logic. And so money-wise, that is probably where mom and dad leaned the most, teaching us. It was the logical side of it. It's budgeting, it's investing, here's what a mutual fund is. And it was probably less the emotional side of money. They probably tapped into that more when we got older. But that emotional side of money is really important to understand. Things like contentment. And it's like these things that you can't tactically see, but it's principles that are really, really important when it comes to money, but it is more the emotional side. So I'd say mom and dad leaned more on the tactical side of money when talking about it. So I'm really processing that a little bit when writing the book. But great question. Very interesting. Jesse said, I'm a type 9. Hey, Enneagrammer, I see you. Spender nerd. When I spend money on new tires versus putting money into a sinking fund to pay off student loans. When do I spend money on new tires versus putting money into a sinking fund to pay off student loans? So number one, there's a note on here that is true. We have a sinking fund video coming out later this month. So this could be for you too, Jesse. Yeah, so when you need new tires, that is a need. We say food, transportation, utilities, and shelter. Those are things that you have to have. So new tires on your car, it's going to be a need at some point. And so you want to be able to say, yeah, I'm going to save up and have money to do that, because you have to be able to get places with your transportation. And paying off student loans, I wouldn't put those in a sinking fund. I would do the debt snowball. So as you're paying it off, putting money towards that. But you may want to pause your debt snowball if your tires are more than $1,000 for your emergency fund, and to save up for tires if you know that you're in need of them. But that's a great question. Pauline says, do I pay off a mortgage with a variable interest rate first, or a student loan with a fixed lower interest rate? So when we pay off debt, it has nothing to do with interest rate, which sounds kind of crazy because mathematically it would be a certain way or not. But it's not math we're doing here. And your mortgage is not part of your debt snowball. So what I want you to do is pay off your student loan, because that's going to be within the debt snowball, where you pay off the smallest loan to the largest loan. And then your paying off your house comes later at baby step 6. And you said you had a variable interest rate. Okay, so I would, love for you to have a fixed. So if you can refinance, that would be fantastic. And rates are amazing right now. So if you can refinance to a 15-year fixed rate, that's going to be your best bet. So that's what I would do. And then once you get out of debt and you're funding retirement and kids' college, then throw extra at the mortgage. But great question, Pauline. Ian says, should I buy a house or rent an apartment? Well, depends on where you are financially. So if you are out of debt with a fully funded emergency fund of 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, and you have 10 to 20% saved for your down payment, buy a house. You can buy a house. I wouldn't buy a house, though, even if I had all of that, if I was moving to a new city. So if you're moving anywhere or relocating, I would live somewhere for a year and rent, just to figure out the city and what section I want to live in and what part of the city I want to live in. So that's another time. Or if you just got married, depending on your age and where you are in life, you may want to rent just for a little bit as well. So those are reasons to rent, but I would definitely rent if you have debt and you don't have an emergency fund. And it sounds like a long thing. People are like, oh man, but I want to be a homeowner. And my goal for you is to own a home. I think owning a home is a great way to really advance your net worth, honestly. When we studied millionaires across America for Chris Hogan's new book, Everyday Millionaire, we found that a lot of their net worth was in real estate. They had paid for houses and amazing 401ks. So it's a great part of your portfolio as you get older to have equity in a home and have real estate. I think that that's brilliant and it's needed. But if you are broke and you don't have a lot of money and you have a lot of debt, getting a house will make you broker, because getting a house, you move in, you're like, oh, the heating and air went out, and I have to spend as much on that as I would a car. And like all this stuff, you have to keep up with the yard. And it's so much work. It's wonderful, but it's a lot of work and get really expensive. And so I don't want to put that stress on you, because a home would eventually become a burden, not a blessing. And so being out of debt with that emergency fund and a good down payment, that's key. But another great question. Pat, do you think our money tendencies are largely unconscious, maybe subconscious? Is unconscious where you aren't awake? I don't know. I don't remember how finances were discussed growing up, so I wonder how much of an impact it's had on me. Okay, so our money tendencies can come from childhood, and they may just be part of your personality. It's kind of that nature versus nurture discussion. And so looking to see back, if you don't really have much, you probably grew up in the unaware money classroom. I can just tell by your question, because it's like, oh yeah, I don't even know what my parents did. So there could be elements of that that do affect how you handle money today. But probably a lot of that has to do with your personality then. Are you more urgent or patient? Like, are there things in you that is in your DNA of who you are that affect those money tendencies? So it's a lot of both. It is some environments, but it's also part of just who you are. That's a great question. Lovely top, Rachel. Thank you. Thank you, Grace. I appreciate that. Michael said, I have trouble budgeting because I get paid bi-weekly and the amounts are different. Any suggestions? Working on my emergency fund. Yeah, this is hard when you get paid off the schedule of like not twice a month and all of that. So you kind of have to be a little bit more detailed with your budget to know when the money's coming in, what bills have to be paid in those 2 weeks. So once you get paid, then you know I have this amount of money in my bank account, and then the next couple weeks, here are the bills coming that are gonna have to come out of that amount. And then again, right? And then you get paid on the 15th. And it's like, okay, here are the bills at the end of the month, and it's gonna have to come out of this paycheck. So you do have to be really diligent and see it, but I would still lump it together to do a monthly budget. Some people try to do a bi-weekly budget, and I think it's really confusing. So there is a time that you have to kind of get ahead, if you will, to have money in the bank in order to pay those bills. But if you just schedule it out and write it out, it should be fairly simple. And again, it takes about 90 days to get that to work. So if you haven't really been consistent with it, give yourself some time for sure. Okay, let's do one more question. Carol says, I'm single with no debts, looking to move soon, but no apartments in my area within 25% of my income. What do I focus on first? Making more money or moving? Well, I wonder what, let's see, looking to move soon. So I wonder what you're wanting to move to, or why you're wanting to move. If your current payment is more, is that your motivation to move, or what it is? So honestly, probably the easiest would be to find something that is less than 25% than trying to make more money right now, because I don't want you to have to sustain an extra job and all of this just to pay your living expenses. I want you to be able to flourish more than that. So if you can find something that's 25%, I would look to do that and find options in that way. And maybe it's you driving an extra 20 minutes, whatever it is, because some areas are just expensive. And it gets down to the point that I don't want your living expenses, what you're paying for rent, to be so much that it's going to be hard for you to get out of debt and have extra money to do things like get out of debt or build up an emergency fund. So I would look for something cheaper versus trying to make more income, just so it's sustainable over the long haul. All right, you guys, thank you so much for asking such great questions. That was so fun. Hopefully we'll get to do this more because I love interacting with you and knowing what's going on in your lives too, because we're all the same, isn't it? It's so interesting. You get this kind of the same questions a lot of the time because we're all facing such similar problems, even though we may look different or live in different areas of the country, have different relationship statuses, all of it. We all interact with money. And again, my hope for you is that the book helps. Know yourself, know your money. Dig deeper into why you handle money the way you do. Now, tonight and tomorrow night, I am doing a virtual book launch party / signing. Yep. So again, man, I wish I was like, I'll be in Austin, Texas tonight at the Barnes & Noble. That's normally what I'd be saying right now, but I'm not. I'm going to be doing a virtual one, but it's still going to be really fun. Really, really fun. So it's 7 p.m. tonight and 7 p.m. tomorrow night. So you can sign up for one of those at rachelcruze.com. Come hang out because we're going to do a Zoom and have fun, answer questions, talk to you guys, and sign books. And if I answer your question there, I'm going to sign your book. Get it? Like a virtual book signing. That's how it works these days, right? And again, if you've read the book and you love it, leave a review on Amazon. If you don't like the book, you don't have to do that. You can just skip it. Well, thank you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday and hope to see you again soon.